Burn is an iconic status effect in Limbus Company. Being the primary theme of some of the most popular encounters of Library of Ruina, which is Limbus Company's prequel, it's obvious that Burn would get some love in Project Moon's newer title. With a new coat of paint, the flames of justice shine brighter than ever before, but the question remains: how strong are Burn teams really? In today's video, I aim to answer this question by showing you what I consider to be the best Burn team you can build, how to play it, and all the variations of this team that can work well. I will explain every identity on the team and why I picked them, as well as highlight the ego skills that tie this team together. I will finish it off by putting Burn on my team tier list, where many of the iconic teams of Limbus Company already reside, so stick around until the end to see just how strong the true hottest team in Limbus Company can get. But before we start, I have to tell you that all of my viewers are not subscribed. Not a single person has subscribed to my channel, as you can see on the graph. I totally didn't go into inspect element and change the numbers, so you can be the first person to subscribe. It helps me out a lot and takes just a second of your time. Now, back to Burn. Starting off, here's the team, with both the 6 combat identities as well as the 6 supports. Immediately, if you see something that you don't agree with, don't rush to the comments and instead wait until the variations section, though I imagine most of these are self-explanatory. We will not start from left to right today, instead starting with the strongest, Dawn Office Fixer Sinkler. This man is Burn. A large amount of strategy around the whole team goes towards enabling his strongest abilities, and for good reason. When at 40 or more SP, Sinkler consumes 20 SP at turn start to enter his volatile ego state. When in that state, all of Sinkler's skills become much stronger, and he also applies a unique effect on himself. That effect is Volatile Passion, and it allows Sinkler to inflict 1 burn with every hit and have more power against targets with burn. It also allows him to inflict burn when blocking, but that's a much less interesting ability than the 2 mentioned earlier. But such power does not come without a cost. Every turn, while Sinkler has Volatile Passion, he loses 5 SP for every turn he has spent in the Volatile Ego state. Once his SP hits 0, Sinkler loses his Volatile Ego state and is forced into a very vulnerable position, where his SP is at 0 and his skills are a lot weaker than usual. However, Sinkler's power in his Ego state is incredible. His skill 1 already starts off well, by being able to inflict up to 8 burn in one use when Sinkler is in his Ego state. His passive is active and he hits heads with the coin. The main weakness of the skill is its low clash power, making it very undesirable compared to his other skills. With every one of Sinkler's buffs active, the skill still clashes at 14 power, which is far from perfect. Sinkler's second skill, however, is much closer to being perfect. When Sinkler is in the Ego state, Sunset Blade gets +1 attack weight, with another +1 on top of that when Sinkler is at 45 SP. With the skill's conditional met and both of Sinkler's buffs active, Sunset Blade clashes at 25 power. That power is then dealt as damage to up to 3 enemies, while also inflicting 3 burn count on every one of them. This results in up to 9 burn count on the enemy team, or up to 15 count and 3 potency with Sinkler's buffs active. Safe to say, this skill is busted, and we'll delve deeper into exactly why later in the video. Sinkler's third skill has 2 forms, Stigmatize and Blazing Strike. Stigmatize is a skill that can be used to win a clash at 18 power even without conditionals. It gives Sinkler 10 SP on clash win, which allows him to enter his ego state on the second turn of a fight. Stigmatize inflicts 6 burn as well, helping other identities on the team hit their conditionals, and dish out good damage early into the fight. But really, you're all here for Blazing Strike. This skill is crazy. With absolutely no help, this skill reaches 28 power with its base and coin power alone. However, as it is only usable in Sinkler's Ego state, you will almost always go higher than that with Blazing Strike. At 45 SP, and with the total sum of burn potency on the entire enemy team being 32 or higher, Blazing Strike reaches a whopping 39 power. That is a big number, but in reality it wouldn't equate to much damage without its damage boosting effects. Blazing Strike deals plus 10% damage for every rest resonance on the turn it's used. That effect is doubled if the resonance is absolute and includes 4 or more skills. The power of this effect is kept at 120%. On top of this, Blazing Strike deals plus 4% damage for every burn on target, up to another 120%. With both buffs at their max potential, Sinkler's strongest skill can deal 132 damage to a neutral target, and that's without even taking the resonance buffs into consideration. And while the damage of the skill is high, its burn infliction also deserves attention. By using his passive, Sinkler can inflict up to a total of 28 burn potency and 6 burn count across the enemy team. When killing an enemy with Blazing Strike, Sinkler also spreads some of the killed enemy's burn among the other members of their team. For obvious reasons, all of these stats are incredible. Our next strongest identity for the burn team is Lobotomy Ego Ortis. Her unique mechanic is Dark Flame, which is classified as unique burn. It goes up to 7 stacks, and acts as a defense level down and burn damage multiplier. Dark Flame deals sprite damage to the enemy equal to the Dark Flame stacks times burn potency on the enemy. This effect allows burn to overcome its 99 damage cap, while also increasing the physical damage dealt against inflicted enemies. In short, Dark Flame is amazing. To inflict said effect, Ortis has 3 of her skills. Her first skill might seem unassuming at first, as it inflicts 1 Dark Flame and burn equal to Dark Flame on target. However, these skill's conditionals have very high caps, meaning that Ortis can reach 17 power with her first skill when using it against an enemy with just 9 burn. Her second skill has the same high caps, being able to clash at 22 power against enemies with 18 or more burn. However, Ortis' skill 2 is much more than just damage. When at less than 4 Magic Bullet, Ortis gains 1 stack from this skill. Magic Bullet by itself only changes the values of the third skill of Ortis. However, the first coin of her second skill inflicts Dark Flame by Magic Bullet on Ortis, meaning that you can inflict a lot of Dark Flame immediately with this skill, which leads to a ton of pride damage being dealt to the enemy at turn end. Finally, we have her third skill, Magic Bullet Fire. This skill deals additional damage for every burn on target. It also gives Ortis a stack of Magic Bullet. Before we move on to the skill's effects, let me quickly explain the effect of Magic Bullet on the skill's power. At 1 to 3 bullets, it behaves as normal and has 15 base power and 4 coin power. At 4 to 6 bullets, which conveniently starts once you reach the Magic Bullet cap of Ortis' skill 2, the skill has 17 base power and 6 coin power. At 7 bullets, Magic Bullet Fire gets its final and strongest buff. The skill has 30 base power and 10 coin power. Now for the skill's effects. Before attacking, Ortis gains 1 Magic Bullet. Then she loses 5 SP for every bullet except the first one. The attack weight of the skill becomes equal to Magic Bullet on Ortis, and if she is at 10 or less SP after the SP loss, there's a 50% chance that the skill will also target allies. If Ortis was at 7 bullets when using the skill, their amount resets to 0. When hitting an enemy, Magic Bullet Fire inflicts Dark Flame equal to Magic Bullet on Ortis next turn. This skill is, once again, incredible. Even without the crazy 40 roll, when used on 4 bullets, Magic Bullet Fire can do huge damage to the enemy team while providing multiple allies with extra damage for the next turn. On top of all this, Ortis multiplies all burn damage on all affected enemies by Dark Flame count, which results in even more damage being dealt. Next up, we have Liu Rodion. And by the way, this is where identities stop being ranked by strength, cause I just wanted to get the 2 heavy hitters out first. Rodion is a simple yet effective identity. Her first skill clashes it up to 15 power and inflicts 2 burn. Nothing too fancy, but it is pride, so it can fuel some egos. Rodion's second skill actually differs from a lot of skills, as it inflicts burn count instead of potency. This skill clashes at 22 power and can inflict up to 3 burn count on one enemy. Additionally, if the enemy has 6 or more burn count, Rodion inflicts 3 burn to 2 enemies with the least burn count. Rodion's third and strongest skill is Pinpoint Blitz. It gains coin power against targets with 6 burn, and deals more damage to enemies with both 6 burn potency and count. The skill clashes at 20 power, so a bit weaker than her skill 2, but still good enough for most attacks. It inflicts a total of 4 burn on the enemy. The last coin of the skill is the most interesting one though, as it deals rest damage to the enemy equal to their burn potency at the cost of 2 count. This damage is, sadly, capped at 30. Another important part of Rodion's kit is her passive. It requires 3 rest resonance, but gives Rodion and her team a lot of buffs. Rodion deals up to 30% more damage against targets with burn. At combat start, if all enemies or parts have 6 or more burn, a number of allies equal to the highest rest absolute resonance gain rest damage up. This ability applies a further attack power up to View Association Identities. View Ishmael is similar to Rodion. Her first skill clashes at 14 power and inflicts 2 burn, making it slightly weaker than Rodion's skill 1. This skill is lost, however, so it can be put into resonance chains more often. Ishmael's second skill clashes at up to 22 power and inflicts 2 burn. If the enemy has 6 plus burn, she also inflicts 2 burn count. Honestly, there's literally nothing else to say about the skill except that it is a rest skill, so you are going to often use it in rest resonance chains. Her third skill, however, is much more interesting. Inner Gate Elbow clashes at just 15 power and has no power conditionals. Instead, it gets to deal 50% more damage against enemies that have 6 burn and burn count. The coins of the skill inflict a total of 2 burn and 2 burn count. If after attack the target is staggered or defeated, Ishmael gains 1 plus coin boost. This plus coin boost can set up a 25 power skill 2 or a much stronger skill 3 next turn, so it's a very notable effect. Ishmael's passive is simply a worse version of Rodion's, as it has the same cost but only the first effect. Also, she gains damage off of burn count, which stacks much slower than potency. Liu Ishmael might not seem exceptionally strong when compared to Rodion, but her true power lies in her ego skills, which we will talk about later. The fifth identity of the team is Liu Roshu. Out of the 4 2-star Liu identities, she has the best rolls by far. Roshu's skill 1, All Out War, is the only gluttony skill on the team. With both conditions fulfilled, it can also clash at 14 power, which is very powerful for Roshu's Rarity. Its coins inflict a total of 3 burn, which is an okay amount and can go higher with the use of support passives. Roshu's second skill is yet another rest skill 2, which rolls up to 17 with both conditions fulfilled. By the way, the conditions are the same, they're just written down as 2 for some reason. 17 clash power is enough for most clashes in the game, and is definitely a high number for a 2-star identity. The first coin of the skill inflicts 2 burn, while the second one deals additional damage to enemies with 6 plus burn. This skill isn't super powerful, but when put into a rest resonance chain, it can definitely deal a decent chunk of damage while providing a safe clash win. Roshu's third and final skill is Flame Cleave, which is a 4-coin lost skill. Much like Roshu's skill 2, this skill has 2 identical conditionals. When they're fulfilled, Flame Cleave clashes at 17 power as well. While 17 power isn't a crazy high number, Flame Cleave does have 4 coins, so it leads to more damage. The first 3 coins of the skill simply inflict 1 burn each, but the last one deals 40% more damage to targets with 10 plus burn. The one thing that Roshu's skills lack is burn infliction. While she inflicts a bit of potency, she has no count in her kit, and even the potency is pretty lacking on her second and third skills. However, this is where Roshu's passive comes in. When she kills an enemy with burn, she inflicts 4 burn on 2 enemies with the least potency. This is effectively 8 burn per kill, which can help you snowball damage when you start killing enemies with your burn team. The targeting also works well, as by inflicting burn to the enemies with the least burn, you make sure that every enemy will have to go up against skills buffed by burn conditionals. The only real problem of this passive is that Roshu has to fight with Sinkler over who gets the kills. In the absolute majority of cases, you want Sinkler to take the kills in order to replenish his SP, which makes it difficult to use Roshu's passive in focused encounters. In non-focused encounters, it's still pretty much random though. And now, let's move on to the 6th and final slot of the team. As much as I want to put Rin-Yi-san on this team, I will give the spot to Liu Mersault. Mersault's niche is inflicting burn to multiple enemies. That ability is an important part of any burn team, but Meral himself is a victim of power creep. His skills are all weak, however his regret ego keeps him afloat. All of the following skills will be judged on their performance with Bound Wrath active, so keep in mind that Meral is really weak on his own. His first skill is Assault, and it is a last skill, which is pretty useful. With regret, it flashes at 14 power, tying with Ratio. The coins of the skill inflict a total of 3 burn, which isn't a lot, but can help out with conditionals. Stalwart Stance is Meral's second skill. It's the only slow skill on the team, and with regret active it clashes at 14 power. This is below average for a skill too, but without regret, the numbers on the skill are absolutely abysmal, so we take what we can get. The first coin of the skill inflicts 2 burn on the target, and then if the target has 6 or more burn, it inflicts 3 burn to 2 random enemies. This results in a total of 8 burn with that coin, which is really nice. The second coin just inflicts 1 burn, so the skill inflicts 9 burn in total. Meral's third and strongest skill is Perfected Death Fist, and with regret, this skill is actually formidable, as it reaches 22 power. The skill has Res Affinity, so this is what you are going to be using when setting up Res Resonance. On heads hit with the first coin, Meral inflicts 3 burn. The third coin of the skill works similarly to the first coin of his skill too. It inflicts 3 burn count on the enemy, and then if the target has 6 or more burn, it inflicts 3 burn on 2 random enemies. If all effects proc, Perfected Death Fist results in a total of 9 burn potency and 3 count on the enemy team. Meral's passive is pretty bad though, as it requires him to get hit, so you should avoid using it. Before we get to the support identities, let's go over the variations of the burn team that I find acceptable. Unlike my other team state videos, this team has very few variants. The first 4 slots are firmly locked, as there aren't that many good burn IDs. Ratio is also very easy to get online, so I always prefer her over other Liu 2 stars. The only variance comes in the form of the 6th slot. As usual, it would not be an alternate video if I didn't put Ring Yi-sang somewhere, and personally I prefer him over Meral in burn. The reason for that is the fact that Yi-sang deals a great amount of damage with his skills, and actually synergizes with burn pretty well. Unlike Meral, who doesn't even reach average power with his skill 2, Yi-sang's second skill clashes at 16 power. This is average clash power, but the damage this skill deals is far above any skill that Meral has. The reason for that is the fact that burn actually works really well as a stepping stone for Yi-sang's rerolls. This effect rarely runs out, and coupled with Dark Flame allows for 80% base reroll chance for Yi-sang's skill 2. If you hit that 80% chance, Yi-sang has another 80% chance to turn the probability of the second reroll into 100%, and if you miss that chance, you can still hit the 80% chance for a second reroll. In a similar way, Yi-sang's skill 3 already has a 50% damage boost on the last coin from Burn and Dark Flame and has around a 50-50 shot to boost the damage up to 100% additional damage, with a 94% chance to get at least 75% additional damage. Using Yi-sang results in a lot more physical damage than using Meral. He also takes no real setup to come online, unlike Meral, who requires regret to breathe. You do lose out on a bit of burn though, and some people might point to that as a reason not to use Ring Yi-sang, but in my opinion his ability to deal damage quickly overshadows the potential damage from Meral's burn. And to the people who swear by Meral and consider using Ring Yi-sang a cardinal sin, I have just one question for you. Would you rather have unlimited burn, but no damage? Or damage? Unlimited damage, but no burn. Another decent option instead of Meral is Liu Honglu. Pretty funny name, but his power is no laughing matter. Honglu heals SP with his skills, allowing Sinkler to have a higher chance of being targeted by SP healing abilities early, and he also reaches pretty decent power values without needing an ego for setup. Honglu's main problem is not having access to capote and not inflicting enough burn. Unlike Ratio and Meral, his ego pool is rather limited, and he can't make up for that by reaching OK power with his skills. I recommend using Honglu only if you lack regret for Meral and don't have Ringy Sang. And I guess to round off the use, I have to mention Gregor. He can inflict a nice amount of burn with his skills, but his power is pretty abhorrent, and his burn is only inflicted to one enemy. With the variants out of the way, let's move on to supports. If you're running Meral, Yi-Sang has two options. Running Yi-Sang provides a decent amount of SP healing, and can give Sinkler up to 8 SP a turn in most scenarios. It's easy to proc due to its low cost, and it's pretty consistent in its effectiveness. His other option is Base Form, which heals a flat 10 SP for Sinkler when he's in his ego state every turn, but requires Gloom to be activated. With there only being one Gloom skill on the team, it's pretty tough to get this passive online. If you do, it will provide a lot of SP for Sinkler though. Faust should obviously be set to her N-Corp identity. Her passive requires 3 Last Resonance, and heals one ally with the lowest SP for 15 SP at combat start. With how abundant Last is in this team, her passive is your best tool to get Sinkler to 40 SP and keep him there. Dawn doesn't have a perfect option, but your two best bets are Base Form and She Association. Base Form helps out the many peer skills of the team, while She Association can give some great damage buffs to Sinkler specifically, as long as he goes first. Meral also gets two options, Middle and Lu. Lu allows the slowest ally to inflict more burn, which is a nice bonus, especially if Sinkler goes last. Middle on the other hand can help out with SP gain by healing the Lu identities, thus allowing Sinkler to get the effect of whistles early more often. Honglu's best option is Lu Association, as his passive helps the team keep up burn count. Another interesting option is Diechi, as he can help Sinkler heal SP by staggering or killing enemies. Diechi requires Gloom though, so he's tough to use. Heathcliff has two options for support as well. R-Corp helps the pierce attacks in the same way that Dawn does, making him a safe option for damage boosting. However, She Association Heathcliff can boost damage even further. His passive allows the ally with the least SP to deal and take 20% additional damage under a Res Resonance chain. And who has the least max HP on this team? Well, it's a tie between Sinkler and Ortis. If you haven't fully upgraded Sinkler, however, you can keep him at level 44 to ensure that he gets hit with the passive and deals 20% more damage with his strongest skill. Keep this in mind when level 50 releases, as if you have everyone at max level, you can still keep Sinkler at level 49 after the update. Alternatively, you can just let him take damage once and be done with it. Gregor is set to RB Sous-Chef, as his passive is pretty much a copy of his base form, but it requires Last instead of Gloom, which is infinitely easier to fuel. Now, let's move on to the ego skills of Burn. Starting off, we have the thing that makes Ishmael amazing, Ardor Blossom Star. Not only does his ego clash at an absurd 41 power and deal huge rest damage to 3 enemies, but it also inflicts a good amount of burn. In focused encounters, Ardor Blossom Star maxes out at 21 total burn, which is really high. However, the skill's true power lies in its passive. When Ishmael hits an enemy, she inflicts 1 burn on 3 random enemies. And it just so happens that Liu Ishmael gets a 4 coin skill 3 and a 3 coin skill 2. Just from Shower of Fire alone, she can inflict a total of 12 burn on the enemy team in 1 turn, which pretty much increases her burn infliction by orders of magnitude. Next up, I have to mention Regret. It's used by Meral for its passive, as it allows him to gain coin power on all his skills. This ego is pretty easy to use, considering its cost, and its impact is hard not to notice, as it is the one thing keeping Meral afloat. Another one of Meral's good ego skills is Capote. It acts as a free clash win, while also inflicting a bunch of burn on the enemy team. If you stagger an enemy with the skill, you get to inflict a total of 17 burn and 10 burn count across the enemy team. This is raised further to 25 burn and 15 count at uptime 4. Other impactful skills for this team are the 3 Force Match Flame egos. Yi-Sang's Force Match Flame acts as a mass attack that inflicts a ton of burn on the enemy team at uptime 4. It can inflict up to a total of 50 burn, while also being a rest skill, which really helps out Ring Song as he has no rest skills to set up Sinkler. Ryoshu's Force Match Flame capitalizes on the enemy's burn to deal a ton of damage to 3 targets. It synergizes well with Yi Sang's variant, and also gives Ryoshu a pretty decent passive. The last Force Match Flame belongs to Roda, and acts as a support option before the Rest Resonance turn. Its passive also lets Roda heal HP on kill, which can be useful. With that, we're done with the team itself. Now let's move on to how to use it and where it ranks among others. The primary function of burn teams is fighting humans. The effect itself hard caps at 99 damage a turn against one enemy, which is very weak on boss fights. However, in human fights, you can effectively reach beyond that cap, at least theoretically, meaning that the effect itself is more geared towards human encounters. But it's not just the effect. The strongest identities of the team have multi-target skills, and almost all ego skills that are used in the team have more than one weight. The effective damage output of all of these skills increases by a lot when you give them more enemies to target, moving the team yet again to be used in human fights. As for where burn ranks, I have to give it a B tier. Sure, the team reaches good power values and is up there as one of the best options on human fights, but it really struggles on boss fights and the effect itself is pretty weak. Also, I moved up sinking by 1, because I've decided not to be stubborn for once. And that concludes the state of burn teams. I love the team and I love using it, but it's not as powerful as a lot of other options. Still, I recommend it to everyone who got Sinkler in the recent Walpurgisnacht, as it can clear the story mode with ease. If you found yourself enjoying the video at any point, leave a like to let me know. Also, consider subscribing to my channel to never miss my new content. This was Ultranum, and I hope to see you again soon. Goodbye!